by a super interesting guest, Dr. S.P. Bowers. Dr. Bowers is a robotic surgeon. He conducts surgeries on people using robots. He's an expert in the space, and we brought him on the show today because he's recently jumped out on the deep end and gone into innovation, and he is now developing surgery accessories that other surgeons can use in the art of healing. So, Dr. Bowers, welcome.
Thanks, Matthew. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So let's just jump right into it. Suture Shield Incorporated.
Right.
Tell us about Suture Shield. What is that all about?
So I guess you have to start with the problem, and that is the robotic arms, which robots are innovative and taking over the surgical space in almost all body cavity operations. And there are surgical robots for neurosurgery, for orthopedics. I mean, there's a revolution in robotics. So everyone is in, all the young trainees all want to be in it. It's going to be all surgery eventually will be robotics soon. Okay. For body cavity operations, there's one real problem, and that is the robot arms for a critical safety measure have to be slack when they enter or leave the abdomen, so or the body cavity, because you don't want a surgical tech taking an instrument out when it's holding on to a vital structure. Okay, so everyone understands that, and it's something that will be pervasive among all the robotic platforms. So robotic surgery is really good at helping surgeons be better at suturing, at reconstruction, putting things together. And so you need surgical needles to do that. So the problem is, how do you get the needles in and out of the body cavity?
Right.
And the status quo is just not very sophisticated and is probably a little scary for most people to think about who is actually manipulating their body to pass needles in and out. And so there's a certain needle non-retrieval rate. And so when I started doing robotics, I was just really uncomfortable with that. So I just, brainstormed what can we do? And of course, when you're in open surgery and you get a needle, you hand it to your surgical tech and they put it on a little caddy, a little like a fly holder if you're a fly fisher or something like that, that counts the needles and has them all available for you. I'm just like, we just need that in the abdomen so that the surgeon can be in charge of the process, him herself, and eliminate this other person who you'd have to pay to be at the bedside. You'd have to train, and it's all a balance of how much am I going to pay someone to be trained so well to do this task, which I could do myself if I had a really simple piece of equipment. So I started just like prototyping things myself and using them. I made them out of FDA approved materials, and I would use them in my robotic operations and kind of, think about what works, what do I need to have. And so I needed to have it be stable on tissue, have all the needles available for the surgeon to see at all time, control the tails of the suture so that it doesn't look like a bad boat hair day or convertible ride.
Right.
And right. And you just need to have them in place where you can count them and make sure that they all come in and they all come out.
So
And
let's. There's a couple key words you had in there. One you said was non-retrieval. So
correct.
if we're going into a surgery, and for the audience, about how big's the hole that you're using to enter for an abdominal surgery?
Roughly between index finger and pinky.
Okay.
Right. So
So
those are,
we've got our little hole.
yeah.
The
No, I mean,
robot.
like one's the trocars are the bigger ones are about index finger size. The smaller ones are about pinky size.
Oh,
So
okay, got it.
yeah.
And so you're making an incision, and the robot is going inside at your direction
Right.
to
Right.
begin the surgery
Right.
operation. That
Right.
prevents basically filleting the patient, right? Where you have to create a
Correct.
large
Yeah.
incision to open it up.
Massive improvement in recovery, pain, return of function, and also, visualization is a little bit better because you have your magnified image on a television screen rather than your vision. So when you're doing open surgery, someone's head is invariably in the way. You have to get the lights right. With laparoscopy, minimally invasive surgery, your camera projects light, has a high definition image, and you're watching it on a high definition screen. So visualization is really pretty good. So you can do a great operation and the patients recover faster with minimally invasive. Now, laparoscopy, straight stick laparoscopy, is very hard to learn to do well. It takes years and years, the 10,000 hours of training to get
Oh,
to
wow.
be right. So robotics is an enabler in that, because it overcomes some dexterity issues with surgery. People are better much, much earlier in their practice. And that's why it's revolutionary.
Yeah. So we talked about the non-retrieval. That means
Yeah.
that in some percentage of surgery, what's
Right.
happening with those needles?
Yeah. So they're always found. They're not like left in people, right? But we calculated that it's around 3% of operations where a needle, the tech or somebody who was passing and retrieving needles, they pull their instrument out and there's no needle on it. So the needle is somewhere between the abdomen and the surgical drapes. And it could be in the trocar, it could have sprang somewhere around the belly, or it could be lost in the drapes. And so it average, that takes about 40 minutes to figure out where that needle is. It's an anxiety thing that nobody wants.
Right.
And nobody wants it to happen to them or their family. And
Yeah.
if you look
So
at,
you as the surgeon, I'm assuming that means you're in charge of the operating room.
That's correct.
You're the person in charge.
Right.
And you're taking 40 minutes and a little bit of
Yeah.
probably cold sweat.
Yeah.
And you're saying, let's find the needle in the haystack.
Right.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So Suture Shield, which is invented by you, and meaning it helps you do your job, which
Correct.
is the art of healing.
Right.
That was inspired because you were just trying to fix a problem that you were seeing
Correct.
in your everyday life.
Yeah. So it's and no surgeon ever like thinks they're going to leave a needle in somebody. It's just not something you'd ever do. But like, we recognize that it happens to our colleagues all the time. Like, they have to go look for one. Right. So that anxiety, that pall of anxiety hangs over everybody every time the needle comes out. But someone else is pulling out a needle. You say, okay, make sure you have it. And then they say, oh, I got it. Or sometimes they'll say, I don't got it. Right. So, yeah. And so
let's contextualize this robotic surgery market, because since I met you, which is now going on probably 3 months I've known you, I've been reading about it and doing research. And what I was surprised to find out was how many types of surgeries there are. Because when I did my research on robotic surgery, I got these charts that would give me, surgery for women, surgery for men, orthopedic surgery, cancer surgery, and it went all the way down the list. And what it appears to me is that across the medical spectrum and all the different expertises out there, almost every category of surgery is leaning into robotic surgery.
Correct.
And just for the audience, what I saw was kind of the least proliferated. There's some surgery categories where 20% of surgeries are now done using robotic assistance, but that was the lowest. And in some categories, such as yours, which are abdominal surgeries, it was above 50% already. So in other words, more than half the surgeries in the country are being done by robots, with a surgeon steering the robot.
Right. So there's different fields that have different penetration already. Like prostates was first, because there's aspects of the male pelvis that make it difficult to position, and the robots all have wristed arms, so you can get the needle into unusual positions easier, and very difficult with straight stick laparoscopy. So hysterectomy, it was a more early. General surgery is the latest, and it's clearly now the dominant player, both in volume and growth. So that the 2027 will be the inflection point when there's more robotic operations than regular laparoscopy operations. And look at how surgeons are trained. There's about a 3% turnover in the surgical workforce every year, because there's about 30,000 surgeons and 1,000 new surgeons going into general surgery every year. And the robotic company Intuitive, which is the dominant player, it will probably always be the dominant player in American robotics. But there are others that are coming internationally. But it's training about 4.5% of the general surgery workforce every year, also.
So faster than the replacement rate of surgeons.
Correct.
The new entrants. So let's talk about kind of your training and your journey. Do you remember what year it was when you first experienced robotic surgery?
So I've been doing minimally invasive surgery my entire career. I did a fellowship in that, and I'm one of the like the older school laparoscopy guys, because I was able to do advanced training and get so good at it. I was kind of a later entry into robotics because, that balance is when you transition something. When you start robotics, you're not as good at robotics as you are at laparoscopy. So then you have to balance, well, what am I going to do with that? So I started in 2017 and have been, picking it up. And then I kind of realized, well, this is a real problem. And I think that people who started all along just got used to the problem and didn't, were like, well, this is how it is. But for someone, it's like the frog in the water. When you get plopped in, you realize, oh, this is a problem. And so I just put some mental effort into trying to figure out how best that I could handle it for myself. And then realized, wait a minute, this is something that is maybe a scalable option for everybody.
Well, yeah. So I love this kind of story arc of your career. So you came out as the young hotshot. You were
Yeah.
already the expert in laparoscopy.
Yeah.
And you ran that hot in your career. I'm imagining that you became known for that.
Yeah.
In 2017, you had your first experience with a robotic surgery assistant.
Mm-hmm.
How long was it from 2017? How many years until you really felt comfortable offering this as kind of your first recommendation to patients?
Well, I mean, the transition from laparoscopy to robot is actually pretty quick. It's really pretty fast because the fundamental moves are the same. It's just that you're, instead of thinking about your hands out here operating the sticks, you're in the console, and it's a really immersive environment. It's 3D vision. And you scalable motion. So like three times what you're doing in the controls is one time on the patient. So you can get really good pretty really quickly. I mean, it's amazing how, and you take a novice who would be terrible at laparoscopy, and they're decent at robotics immediately. So it's a pretty good technology. So it didn't take long for me to realize that this is something that's I can do well. So.
Nice. And then how long was it from that mastery to where you got, or at least comfort level with it, to where then you felt like you could start teaching others or having others observe you?
Oh, right away. Yeah,
Yeah.
immediately. Yeah, I mean, that's the great thing about it. I mean, it's, because we generally do about 10 cases proctored. And I realized in those 10 cases, I was already as good at some things that I was doing by laparoscopy that I had been in practice for 18 years. So,
Wow.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
So
it's
that, we encounter robotics as our audience knows. We run a robotics engineering firm. We design
right.
and install robotics in the workplace. One of the things I've been telling people lately, now that robotics is like one of the topics for the year, is how fast you can learn it. Right?
Yeah,
It's most of the heavy lift went into the design of the
right.
robotics or the system.
Right.
And then if they're done correctly, robots are designed for people, in this case, for the
Yeah.
surgeon
Yeah.
and for the benefit of the patient. But that learning curve that you described of going from 18 years of intense knowledge in one method to then quickly picking up robotics,
Yeah.
I think a lot of the workforces can experience that when they see robots in their job.
And I think it's it's enabling technology that's extremely well designed, and there was just this one flaw that is an inefficiency, and it's could be a safety issue, but really it's a source of anxiety, and
Right.
so, and we're like, well, if I can feel comfortable with that, then I'm going to be good.
Yeah. And your goal, I have to imagine, is just no mistakes ever. Right? Is
Correct.
when you're
Correct.
every patient
Correct.
deserves the best surgery
Right.
experience
Correct.
possible, right? With
Right.
no exception. So
Right.
anytime you find a little, even if it's a small number, an issue that recurs, it seems to me like you're the type of
Correct.
guy that wants to come up with a solution for that.
Exactly right. Yeah, we don't want to. You don't want to go into something knowing that there's a flaw in your plan or a weakness. Leave nothing to chance if you can. I mean,
Right.
it's healthcare. You have to accept some risk in some things, but like, yeah, we want to minimize that risk. Absolutely.
Now, I'm going to do the robot engineer thing for a minute,
Sure.
if you don't
Yeah.
mind. The other thing that I learned from you as we got into this was that there's a cycle time.
Yep.
And for the audience, the cycle time is basically how long it takes to start and complete a specific task.
Yeah.
When we're thinking about automation, we're trying to automate a series of tasks to become an operation, such as a surgery or making something in a factory.
Right.
That cycle time, I understand, in the old way, before the invention of Suture Shield, you had a lot of insertion and retrieval of needles by the robot, which each one had its own cycle time. Can you tell me a little bit about the speed up in the surgery that you've enabled?
Yeah. So you think about, okay, I have a needle in my hand. I've just used it to do a suture, and I've cut it. So I have one in my laparoscopic needle driver, and I want to get that needle out of that trocar. Okay. So then what I have to do is pass that needle to another hand, which can't hold on to anything else. Ask the tech to take that instrument out, then put another instrument that same space, and using that technique locks the trocar path, so the instrument isn't just wandering randomly around the abdomen. So I know where the path of that instrument is. Then they can open the jaws, hand that needle off. Then it comes out. There's a little bit of anxiety there because of the non-retrieval rate, and then they have to reboot that arm back again. So it could take a minute and a half per needle exchange.
Now, what's a typical, I know every surgery is different, but what's typically, how many needle insertions are we doing per surgery?
Somewhere around 10.
Okay. So it's a minute and a half times 10.
Yeah, correct.
And in that minute and a half times 10, I have a very expensive operating room.
Correct.
That would seem to me to be the most high dollar real estate in the hospital.
Yep.
I've got a very expert, well-trained surgeon.
Yep.
That surgeon has a team. And we've got a patient are they under anesthesia?
Yeah, general anesthetic, correct.
Yeah, so the patient is also under care and monitoring by a separate specialist. And that whole thing is happening every time, every surgery, every day, 10 times a minute and a half.
Right.
Right.
Correct.
So
there's other, like, you could speed that up a little bit by paying someone to use an additional trocar, so an extra cut, and then they put their instrument in, kind of guessing the path of the robot trocars and in between those to put it in the surgical field. And you can then not operate without breaking your stride as much, because you can ask for a needle, they put one in, you hand it, they hand you back the old one. But then you're paying someone, a trained person, or you're risking an untrained person to pass instruments kind of.
Yeah, we're not going to do that, right? None of
right.
So we've got, so the two paths are just take longer with the most expensive team and the most expensive real estate, or double up and have a second robotic surgery, function in place to speed up the exchange. Those are fine. Those both sound like they work. But then now there's a third option, which would be your invention, which is Suture Shield.
Right.
And so what is the efficiency gain of Suture Shield? How does that help?
So then you decide, the surgeon decides which needles he's going to plan to use, loads them on the device, places it into the body cavity, and then just does his work. Takes the needle off, uses it, puts it back, take one off, use it, put it back.
Yeah. This would be like, sometimes when we order from Amazon, we get, in my house, we're frequent users. Right. Sometimes we get 5 boxes.
Yeah, right.
And you're like, really? You packed 5 separate boxes to bring orders to the house. And then sometimes I get it right. Sometimes we get 1 box that has 5 things in it.
Exactly right.
Is that kind of a good analogy for what's happening?
Exactly right.
Field?
Exactly right.
Which meant the driver had to come by 1 time, right? And they had to use 1 set of packaging instead of all the repetition and waste. Right. Well, I love that. And I think from just the efficiency standpoint, it makes sense. You have that baked in delay on every surgery based on the needle exchange. Then you have this every once in a while, we can't find the needle.
Right.
And then we have the fire drill that you described at the beginning.
Correct.
So I think if you compound that, this is going to be a huge efficiency driver, both for the medical team and for the hospital operation.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I found that in my practice. It's and the other aspects that are secondary, like you're training residents, they don't have to do that job of bedside assistant, which is like the worst job in medicine because it's uncomfortable. You're not actually learning how to do things. You're kind of in this crappy position, and they get to be, we have what we call the dual console. So there's a training robotic console. So then they can more easily help learn actual parts of the operation. So it's better for education in addition to being better for efficiency and care. So,
and then let's kind of close off with just your day. So on a surgery day when you're in surgery, how many surgeries would you expect to conduct?
Generally around 3 per day. Generally
Okay.
around 3 per day. I mean, there's some people who have greater efficiency in practice, and then maybe more operating rooms. So you could say, well, if you had 2 operating rooms and you could go back and forth while one's being cleaned, you could do another short operation. Then you could get up to 6 or so a day. But in general, when we have just 1 operating room, we're going to do 3 cases back to back.
Right. So for you doing 3 in a day and
Mhm.
the very busy surgeon with 2 rooms doing 6
Mhm.
per day,
Yeah.
I got to
Right.
imagine your focus is kind of off the charts when you're doing it,
Right. Right.
especially when you're in the immersive 3D environment and you're
Right.
controlling the joysticks. What does it mean for your energy level to get back that 45 minutes a day?
Well, I mean, ultimately, I mean, you could be an extra case per day, like if you're having a high, like a private practice, high efficiency surgery center, then you be able to earn more income by taking the same time taking care of an extra patient or getting home to your family. I mean, 45 the add on inefficiency is ultimately whether you're going to get dinner with your kids or not for young surgeons in practice, and that's the
Wow.
big thing.
Yeah. Well, as a father of young kids, that's the
Yeah.
choice I make every day, right?
Right. Right.
And I know which one I'd rather do, which is have
Yeah,
dinner with.
because we're not going to rush through an operation ever. No surgeon's ever going to do that, like to get to a basketball game or something. And everyone accepts, well, it's a part of the deal. Like there's some things that I'm going to miss, but like if you can be efficient, then you can not miss things. It's just absolutely better. It's absolutely better.
Yeah.
So
And I think, as we look at medicine, there's so much focus right now on some of the structural issues around
yeah,
medicine.
right,
Are we making enough surgeons? Are we making enough nurses
right,
every year? Are the incentive structures right to get the best in the field? I think, going back to when I was a kid and you hear doctor, that was the
yeah,
most prestigious
yeah,
job. It was
right, right,
followed closely by airline pilot, right? Those were kind of the
yeah,
pinnacle of career
yeah,
achievement.
right,
Sometimes today it feels like
yeah,
we've put up so many barriers with
right,
the residency and the call and the long hours,
yeah.
missing family things, that I
Yeah.
wonder if we're still attracting the very best into the medical field.
Yeah, and you find like from the medical school admissions that in economic uncertainty, then you get a higher applicants for medicine, but when you have boom times, you don't. Some people who are weighing it will opt for other things. So the lifestyle, there's certain people who are just drawn. Like I knew for myself, I was going to be a doctor, but other people are thinking, well, I could be a doctor, or I could do something else um, in a medical industry or something else entirely. And improving the life of surgeons, it's a great life. It's a great life, but improving it will certainly help bring better people to the field.
Well, so I think that's, at least me as a layperson, my wife
Yeah.
is in the medical field, my
Yeah.
mother is, I have
Hmm.
multiple family members that are doctors. Um, I just want the best people that have the calling
Yeah.
operating on
Right.
my family,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Right.
And really, I don't even want somebody that wants to do it for the money, although doctors
Right.
do expect to get paid.
Sure.
Uh, it's about the passion and it's about
Right.
caring for every patient. So tell me, after 20 plus years
Yeah.
now in expertise as a surgeon,
Yeah.
you jumped off the deep end and you became an inventor. What was that experience like?
Right. Well, ultimately, it's this idea is not one that I wanted to see it through. I want to see it work because ultimately, if as a surgeon I can help say 400 people a year, right? Uh, but as if you have something that's scalable, like education is scalable, then I can train people a year who can then each help 400 people a year. But if you go to conferences and you invent some new procedure, you can help more. But like something like this that can help efficiency in everybody doing robotics, you can help a lot of people a year.
Yeah,
So right.
yeah, and I just love this metric of time. I don't think you and
Yeah.
I've ever actually spent
Yeah.
you
Right.
know a conversation doing this before, but when you're buying every surgeon 15 minutes a case and you're
Yeah.
doing it across what is now more than half of surgeries soon to be in the
Yeah.
country,
Right.
and the 30,000 surgeons out there,
Yeah.
that to me that is scale. And
That's
what I
scale.
love
Yeah.
about your invention is it's actually so simple. right? It's
Right.
not another robot that works with a robot.
Right.
You just invented a small, safe device that is meant to complement the existing technology.
Correct.
Right.
And platform independent. So as robotics will change, we think they'll all have this critical safety feature. So this will work on every robotic platform.
Yeah, that's super exciting.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to make, I think we covered your why here pretty good.
Yeah, sure.
About what got you into it. I do want to give you a chance to tell us about Suture Shield, how people can follow along and get engaged, and what sort of help you might be looking for from the audience.
So we're at www.suture-shield.com. So, but our website right now is a little bit scarce because we're not at FDA approval yet. So we don't necessarily want to be seen as advertising. So we mostly just have company information and inquiries, addresses, contact information. So we are almost through with the R&D phase, and we're about to start the commercialization phase. And so, once we have FDA Class 1 approval, then we're going to do an early clinical release, and that gives us the opportunity to get everything right on our end in terms of the process of getting it out there, making sure that we get it into hospitals. We have our value access committee package right, the good brochure and a good vendor information sheet. We have our booth right for getting surgeons this information to go to conferences, and we have that process of getting how to educate the surgeons once they have it in their hospital, how to best utilize it. So we're going to be spending some time on doing that, and then we're going to have a release and we're going to get it to market probably in the second quarter of 26.
Oh, amazing. That's like right around the corner.
Right.
So
right around, it's coming fast. Yeah, it's coming fast.
That's great. Well, you heard it here first. So as I understand it, you have quite a big community of other surgeons, and you guys already collaborate using social media and I'm sure private communications.
Yeah.
Should we expect that there's already a couple surgeons kind of chomping at the bit to follow you into
Well,
this?
we have our basically our clinical advisory board that we're starting to set up, and that we've identified some surgeons who are influential, very good, do a lot of education in robotics, and are looking for some more efficiency gains, who are going to be our early users. And so we want to get feedback from them. Is this product the right size for your use? I mean, before we go big, we want to make sure that our product has all the right size, shape, feel that people really want. And because it's not too late to change some minor things in our design before we make molds and really go to scale with manufacturing. And so and then these guys also are very influential. And so we're going to ask that as we get going to put it on the Facebook, the Surgery Robotics Cooperative, which has 16,000 users, and these my team is going to be open and getting it out there, and going to robotic surgery meetings and talking to surgeons and kind of making everyone realize that they can really add to their practice and efficiency and safety, and the other gains of educational by using this.
So you mentioned FDA approval. You also mentioned molds. For the audience, what that means is Dr. Bowers here is thinking about ramping up into production.
Correct. Right.
Is there a plan to make sure this is made in the USA?
100%. 100% we're going to be made in the USA. I'm a veteran. It's important to me. And also the tariff and the economic policy perspective. We don't want, a hurricane to put us on 3-month back orders. So we're gonna make it in America. It's made in North Carolina now, and I'm not sure if it will always be made in North Carolina, but we'll be making it in America.
Well, I'm from North Carolina, so that's a good answer. But I certainly agree that it should be made at the right place. But the right place is the USA. I'm so encouraged.
Absolutely.
So I guess one kind of curveball question for you. So you're a 1-0 successful inventor. You step to the plate, and you hit the ball on your first try.
Right.
now you're going to be influencing a lot of doctors, and you've just bought them
Mhm.
that first time increment back.
Yeah.
Have you thought about how you're going to respond when the first surgeon buddy of yours says, "Hey, SP, this was awesome. I need you to make me this thing over here"?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, I've always been fairly innovative in like surgical procedures. I was the first surgeon to do a totally laparoscopic type of ventral hernia, abdominal hernia repair. I developed a new technique for esophagectomy, removing of the esophagus, and so I don't know. It's hard to think about what problem comes, is out there that's unsolved, because I don't know of something that is in the mainstream of what I do now. I can say that endoscopy is the next revolution. Endoscopic visceral surgery, maybe some years after that. So we certainly have some ideas of how to make endoscopy more effective. I have some education ideas as well, but like nothing that's quite scalable like this.
Yeah.
So
Well,
right now, all my energy is in this, and
yeah, I get
yeah,
it. You've got the next 6 months. It sounds like are an
right,
intense push for you. But an observation of mine, being in the innovation field like yourself, is once you demonstrate success in something,
right,
then the ideas
right,
from the collective start pouring in.
yeah, right,
Most of your colleagues
right,
maybe don't have the vision or drive or stamina, risk taking to just go do their own invention,
right, right,
and get it to production scale and regulatory approval like you. But they'd be more than happy to
right,
give you that idea that's been keeping them up
yeah,
at night.
right. There's a lot of paralysis by analysis in like the surgeon inventor, like having an idea and then just like not knowing how to go forward. And
Right.
so I've already been helpful in like helping some other people, like, okay, these are the things, these are the steps that you want to take. And the best time was yesterday, and the second best time is today. So, right.
Yeah, you have that founder level urgency. That's great.
Right.
Well, Dr. Bowers, it's been a privilege to have you on the show. Any closing
Fantastic.
remarks you'd like for the audience?
No, I just I want to thank Chang Robotics for having the trust in us, and to be partners with us. And as a founder, we rely on like the friends and family to get started. And so the your primal mode of thought is fundraising when you're in that mode. And then once you have a partner like Chang Robotics, then the due diligence process that you guys put into it gives other organized investors confidence, and then you build momentum. And so now, right, so instead of having all of our thought being into fundraising, now all of our thought can transition into the next phase of commercialization, which is great, which is
Yeah. Well,
and we have you to thank.
let's make sure we plug that. So I will tell the quick story. Then we'll go probably 2 minutes over here. I only met SP because he was nominated to be in the Jacksonville Venture Competition.
Right.
Once a year, the city of Jacksonville, where we both live, hosts a venture capital competition with a single prize, and 6 companies make the stage. They're all amazing. Every company. I bring my underwriting guys because if it was up to me, I'd invest in all 6. I think they're so good. Right. But we do have some, financial heavyweights and underwriting heavyweights in the room that help kind of filter it down. And Suture Shield won this past year in 2025. They won, and so as a result of that, they went through to underwriting and have been funded by Chang Robotics Fund. So access to their company is available through our fund for folks that are LPs or investors in our fund. And we're also working hard. We've received a lot of interest from investors that are doctors, and doctors are actually by individual, they're some of the most prolific investors. Because of that, they do make, above average income, and then they're always thinking about innovation. And I have to wonder how often they're in clinical and their mind goes to the thing that they could be doing. But the doctors typically don't abandon their medical practice to then go pursue a startup. That's very uncommon. So what we found is that doctors love to invest in others that are pursuing that so they can join in. So I think the future for you guys is very bright. I think your track record to date is exceptional. And just this whole story of how quickly you got into robotics and then And then that much even quicker, you got into invention and really trying to improve the process. I think it's just a compelling story.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Yeah, it's been a wild ride so far, but like you learn something every single day, which is also really good because you don't want to be static at this phase of my life and career. I really want to continue pushing for something and learning, and this has been a great way to do that.
Fantastic. Dr. Bowers, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Matthew. I appreciate it. Andrea.